holy moly, what is going on here? I got secant with plus ones. It's a bunch of fractions. Nothing is squared. Nothing seems helpful. But you know what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing some fractions that I'm going to probably want to combine, which means I'm going to need some common denominators. Now, it might seem weird to try and think about a common denominator for something like this. This guy's a denominator. This guy's another denominator. And if I want to know the common denominator, I can simply take the product of those two things. Basically, if this expression denominator, if this denominator had a secant x plus 1, and if this denominator had a secant x minus 1, things would look a lot better. So I'm going to take this guy and multiply his top and bottom by secant of x plus 1. And I'm going to take this denominator and numerator and multiply it by secant x minus 1. It's hard to write neatly with this fat pen. And see what happens. So this times this is simply going to be secant of x minus 1. Minus 1 times this will give me a negative secant of x minus 1. And that whole thing will be over the product of these two things. Right now I'm just going to leave it as a factored form expression because I don't want to freak anybody out, and then we'll talk about what that turns into momentarily. Hey, these guys cancel. These guys are friends. They make a negative 1. And on the bottom here, we do have to multiply this out, but there is a shortcut. And if you guys remember from your days of Algebra 2 Excel, if you have the same thing in a set of parentheses, a and b, and one's plus and one's minused, then it becomes the first thing squared minus the second thing squared. And just because it's a trig function doesn't make it an exception. I got the same thing and the same thing. One's plussed, one's minused, so it's going to make secant squared x minus 1. See, now I'm kind of excited. It's good stuff. If I got a secant squared and I got a 1 with a plus or minus, there's probably some kind of Pythagorean identity that's going to help me out. And as we've done before, it doesn't take too much thought to see that if I take this 1 and move it to this side, that I get secant squared x minus 1 equals the tangent squared of x. So this can be replaced with a tangent squared. And now I can use a reciprocal identity and get a final answer of negative cotangent squared x, which is so much more pleasant to look at than this crazy wackadoo thing. So that's kind of how these things go. These are puzzles. Treat them like puzzles. Fun puzzles. Everyone loves puzzles. And yeah, good luck, you guys. See you tomorrow in class. Or unless you're watching this during your lunch period, in which case I'll see you in a few hours. Yeah.